But we have economist Andrew Busch joining us all the way from Chicago to break this down. So first of all, tell us about the state of the U.S. economy right now, along with employment rates.
Right. So it's definitely a V-shaped recovery into the third quarter. As you mentioned, it's probably going to be 35% plus GDP. It really has roared back. And I just want to remind everybody, in the United States, between the White House, Congress, and the Federal Reserve, they have created $11.4 trillion worth of stimulus. So that is a lot of money moving into the system. And that's one of the reasons why the economy has snapped back so strongly. We had double-digit unemployment. Now it's down to about 7.9%, and it should continue to drop.
Now, President Trump says that he built the greatest ever U.S. economy prior to the coronavirus outbreak. Is that true? What has the economy looked like under his leadership?
Well, it depends on what metric you choose. If it's GDP, clearly, there's other presidents that have had higher GDP growth rates of like 5%. You could go back to Ronald Reagan and find that. But if you're looking at the unemployment rate, well, that's where things get interesting, because at 3.5% or lower, the Trump administration has experienced one of the lowest unemployment rates in the history of the country. And what's interesting about that is that it's really helped the low-income to middle-income workers the most. They saw their wages rise the fastest in 2019, faster than upper-income workers. And many of the low-income to low-income to middle-income workers are Black and Latinx. And so that's really important to see those groups experience wonderful growth rates for their wages. So from that standpoint, you can make an argument that he's right.
Well, what do you think has attributed to that? I mean, why have we seen these low unemployment rates?
Well, prior to the outbreak of the virus, there was the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, which is a 2018 stimulus and corporate tax cut rate program that went through with Congress and the president signed. That was one of the biggest things that happened for the country. When you significantly cut the corporate tax rate, good things can happen. It made the U.S. competitive with a lot of other nations, and it also began to draw in more workers as the U.S. began to ramp up production. Also, having the Federal Reserve keep interest rates at a very low level for a long period of time, that helped as well. That helped the housing industry, and it just helped keep the cost of capital low. And that's something that the Fed found out that they can do without getting any inflation.
Interesting. Now, how has the coronavirus pandemic impacted the American economy? What are we going to see happen down the line as a result?
Right. So one of the biggest things that we saw, of course, is work from home. And that has massive ramifications across the economy, as so many different industries have adapted to not having any kind of physical interface. Workers in many different industries have been able to figure out that they can get the technology, they can get telecommunications and be able to do their jobs from home. And many of the employee surveys reflect that. They're very positive towards doing that. So that's going to continue going forward. But that also has big implications for things like office space, commercial real estate space in the major American cities. And we're already seeing, major drops in the value of those properties, but also in apartment buildings and rentals. So people are moving away from these major cities because they can, and they can do their work from home. And that's what they're finding out in San Francisco, LA, and Chicago.
Now, how has consumer spending in the United States changed since the onset of the pandemic?
Right. So as I mentioned, work from home. So you can imagine you have to ramp up all of your workspace at home. But a lot more has gone online, obviously. We've moved to things like touchless payments, credit cards that you don't have to need to put through slots. So a lot of things along those lines, anything to reduce the potential for COVID is really come to the fore. So we're seeing a lot more food being ordered online and things like that.
All right. Well, thank you for this remarkable, clear breakdown. I hope we'll have you back again soon.